Commander Zarakath had seen 1,000 battles across 40 star systems. Her crimson armor bore the scars of countless victories, and her reputation as the fiercest warrior in the Kaldrith Empire was undisputed. Today should have been another easy conquest. The colony world of New Haven had no military, just farmers and miners who barely knew which end of a plasma rifle to hold. She stood atop the burning ruins of the settlement's main hall, watching her soldiers round up the terrified colonists. The humans had surrendered within minutes, just as intelligence predicted. Weak. Pathetic. She wondered why the Empire even bothered with such inferior creatures. Then the air changed. Zarok's combat instincts, honed over decades, screamed danger. She spun toward the eastern ridge, her hand moving to her blade. The other warriors felt it too. The entire battlefield went silent. Even the colonists stopped crying. A figure emerged from the smoke and ash. Human, male, he wore no armor, just simple combat fatigues covered in dust and blood. His face was unmarked by fear or hesitation. He carried a standard projectile rifle, ancient by galactic standards, and walked with the measured pace of someone who had done this before. Zarok felt something she had not experienced in years. Her muscles locked, her breath caught. This was not the stumbling, clumsy movement of the colonists. This was a predator. The human stopped 50 meters away. He surveyed the scene with cold, calculating eyes. His gaze swept over the dead, the wounded, the burning buildings. When his eyes met Zarok's, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Not anger, not hatred, just grim determination and the absolute certainty of someone who knew exactly what they were about to do. "You have 10 seconds to release the civilians and leave this world," the human said. His voice was steady, almost conversational. He spoke in perfect Kaldrith, which should have been impossible. One of her junior warriors laughed. "One human against 200 Kaldrith soldiers? You must be insane." The human tilted his head slightly. 9 seconds. Zarok raised her hand, signaling her troops to hold. Something was wrong. Humans did not behave this way. They panicked. They begged. They ran. They did not walk calmly into certain death with that look in their eyes. "Who are you?" she demanded. The human shouldered his rifle with practiced ease. "My name is Daniel Brooks, former UN Durst Marines, 5th Recon Division. I retired here 3 years ago." "You just made a very serious mistake." "What mistake?" Zarok asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Daniel's expression never changed. "You hurt my neighbors." The shooting started before Zarok could give the order to stand down. Daniel moved like liquid death. His first 3 shots dropped the warriors holding the colonist children. Headshots. Perfect accuracy. Before their bodies hit the ground, he was already rolling behind a concrete barrier, reloading with movements so smooth they seemed automatic. Zarok's soldiers opened fire. Plasma bolts turned the air into a light show of deadly energy. The barrier Daniel hid behind began to melt under the concentrated assault. Any normal human would have been vaporized in seconds. Daniel was not normal. He emerged from the opposite side of the barrier, firing as he moved. 6 more warriors fell. Then he disappeared into the smoke from a burning transport vehicle. Zara Kathapurd. Screams 3 of her best close combat specialists went silent on the communication network. "Spread out," she ordered. "Thermal scanners active." He is just one human. But even as she said it, doubt crept into her mind. The Kaldrith were the greatest warriors in 3 galaxies, Their empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, yet this single human was cutting through her elite troops like they were raw recruits. Daniel reappeared on top of the transport, firing down into the scattered formation. His shots were impossibly precise. He aimed for gaps in armor, weak points that most species did not even know existed in Kaldrith combat suits. Another 8 warriors dropped. Lieutenant Vextar, her second in command, charged the transport with 20 soldiers. Daniel jumped, rolled in midair, and landed behind them. The knife he pulled from his belt was simple steel, but in his hands it became something far more deadly. He moved through the group with brutal efficiency, each movement serving multiple purposes: block, strike, kill, move. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Zarakov had studied warfare her entire life. She recognized what she was seeing. This was not luck or desperation. This was training far beyond anything the colonist database had mentioned. The intelligence report said humans were a peaceful species, newly emerged onto the galactic stage. They had described humans as physically weak, emotionally unstable, and militarily incompetent. The reports were catastrophically wrong. Daniel took a plasma bolt to the shoulder. It should have removed his arm. Instead, he grunted, switched his rifle to his other hand, and kept fighting. Another bolt grazed his leg. He compensated without breaking stride. Pain tolerance beyond Kaldrith norms, Sarath muttered into her recorder. Possible combat stimulants or biological modifications. Her warriors were panicking now. She could hear it in their voices over the communication network. 50 of her 200 soldiers were down. The human had not stopped moving for even a moment. Zarak made a decision. She activated her personal shield and strode into the battle herself. She had not earned her position through politics. She was the greatest warrior the Kaldrith had produced in a generation. Daniel saw her coming. He finished the warrior he was grappling with and turned to face her. For a moment, they stood 10 meters apart, assessing each other. "You move well for a human," Zarakov said, "but you are wounded and outnumbered. Surrender now, and I will make it quick." Daniel checked his rifle. Empty. He dropped it and drew his knife again. You know what the worst part of retirement was? The boredom. Every day the same. Wake up, tend the crops, help with construction projects, go to sleep. I actually started to forget what I was. "And what are you?" Zarak asked. "A weapon." Daniel's eyes locked onto hers. Earth did not send peaceful colonists into space because we are a peaceful species. We sent them because they were the peaceful ones. The rest of us stayed behind to make sure nobody followed them. But some of us, the ones who could not let go, the ones who were too damaged to fit into normal society anymore, we came out here to find some kind of peace, to pretend we could be normal. Zarak felt a chill run down her spine. "You are saying your planet has more like you?" Daniel smiled without humor. "More? Commander, Earth has billions of people. Our entire history is warfare. We have been killing each other with increasingly creative methods for 10,000 years. Every generation finds new ways to end life. We have weapons that can sterilize planets. We have soldiers trained from childhood in every form of combat ever conceived. And we got bored with fighting each other, so we started preparing for the day we would meet someone else." He moved then, faster than Zarakov expected. She barely got her blade up in time to block his strike. The force of his attack drove her back 3 steps. They exchanged a flurry of blows. Zarak was stronger, but Daniel was faster and more precise. He fought without honor, without pattern. Every move was designed to kill, to exploit any opening, to end the fight as quickly as possible. Her remaining soldiers tried to help, firing plasma bolts at Daniel. He used Zarak as a shield, moving around her so that any shot at him would hit her instead. They were forced to hold fire. Daniel's knife found a gap in her armor, sliding between plates to cut into her side. Zarak roared in pain and rage, bringing her blade around in a massive swing. Daniel ducked under it and kicked her wounded side. She stumbled. "Last chance," Daniel said quietly. "Take your people and leave. Tell your empire that humans are off limits. Or I finish this." Zarak looked at her remaining soldiers. Fear. She saw fear in their eyes. They were looking at her, waiting for orders, hoping she would choose retreat. She had never retreated in her life. Pride warred with logic in her mind. Then she noticed something that made her decision easier. The colonists were no longer cowering. They were watching Daniel with expressions she had seen before, on worlds where local resistance fighters knew reinforcements were coming. Hope. These humans had hope, because one man had shown them that their species could fight back. That meant more soldiers were coming. Daniel had not been trying to kill them all. He had been buying time. "Withdraw to the ships," Zarak ordered. Her voice was steady despite the burning shame in her chest. Full retreat. Daniel did not pursue. He stood in the center of the battlefield, surrounded by bodies, and watched them go. As the last transport lifted off, Zarak saw him kneel beside a wounded warrior she had been forced to leave behind. Instead of executing the wounded soldier, Daniel applied a medical pack from his belt and dragged the warrior to shade. That single act of mercy disturbed Zarak more than the violence had. Humans were not supposed to show honor to their enemies. 3 hours later, Zarak stood in the command center of her orbiting battleship. Her wounds had been treated, but her pride remained damaged. The view screen showed 6 human vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They were military ships, sleek and dangerous-looking. Not as large as Kaldrith warships, but something about their design spoke of lethal efficiency. "Incoming transmission," her communication officer reported. A human woman appeared on the screen. She wore a dark blue uniform with insignia Zarak did not recognize. Her hair was pulled back severely, and her expression was coldly professional. "I am Admiral Lisa Carter of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You attacked our colony. You killed our civilians. You have exactly one chance to explain why I should not reduce your ship to atoms." Zarak straightened despite her injuries. "I am Commander Zarak of the Kaldrith Empire. We were conducting standard expansion operations. Your colonists were in territory we claimed." "Claimed?" Lisa's eyebrow rose. "You mean you drew a line on a map and decided that gave you the right to murder farmers?" "Let me educate you on something, Commander. Humans do not recognize claims made by force. We recognize force itself. And right now, you are outgunned." Zarak checked her tactical display. Her ship had superior firepower compared to any single human vessel. But all 6 together, coordinating their attacks, could potentially overwhelm her shields. It would be close. "If you fire on us, you start a war with the Kaldrith Empire," Zarak warned. "We are already at war," Lisa replied calmly. "You started it the moment you landed on New Haven. The only question now is how big that war becomes. You can leave peacefully and report to your superiors that humans are not prey. Or you can fight, lose your ship, and we send your wreckage back as a message. Choose quickly. My patience has limits." Zarak had faced many opponents in her career. She could usually read them, understand their tactics, predict their actions. Lisa Carter was different. The human admiral spoke with the absolute confidence of someone who had already run every simulation, calculated every outcome, and knew exactly how this would end. "We will withdraw," Zarak said. Each word felt like swallowing glass. "But the Empire will hear of this. They will send more ships." "Good." Lisa leaned forward slightly. "Let them come. Let them send their best warriors, their biggest fleets, their most advanced weapons. Let them learn what Daniel Brooks taught you today. Humans are not weak. We are not easy prey, and we do not forgive threats to our people." The transmission ended. Zarak ordered her ship to retreat to the edge of the system. As they prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, she pulled up everything the Caldreth intelligence network had on humanity. The files were thin. Earth had only made contact with the galactic community 15 years ago. They had established a handful of colonies. Their technology seemed average at best, but there were gaps in the data. Large gaps. The human government had been very careful about what information they shared. No details on their military strength. No information on their training methods. No access to their home system. Zarak began to understand. Humanity had been hiding. They had deliberately appeared weak, insignificant, not worth the attention of the great empires. Meanwhile, they had been preparing, training, waiting. She opened a secure channel to Caldreth High Command. "This is Commander Zarakth. I need to speak with the War Council immediately. Priority emergency." The face of General Cross appeared. He looked annoyed at being disturbed. "This had better be important, Commander. You were supposed to be securing a minor colony world. General, I need to file a formal threat assessment upgrade for the human species. They are not what we thought. They are not weak. They are extremely dangerous." Cross laughed. "You were driven off by humans? How many ships did they have? 6 military vessels and 1 ground combatant." The general's amusement faded. "You had a battleship and 200 elite warriors? You are telling me 1 human and 6 ships forced a retreat? That human killed or wounded 70 of my soldiers before I ordered withdrawal. He moved with combat skills beyond anything in our tactical database. The admiral who arrived after was equally dangerous. General, I have fought in 40 campaigns. I know what a serious military force looks like. The humans have been hiding their true capabilities." Cross was silent for a long moment. "Send me all your combat recordings, every sensor scan, everything. If what you are saying is true, this changes our entire strategic assessment of that region." While waiting for orders, Zarak returned to the surface briefly to retrieve her wounded soldier. Daniel had kept his word. The warrior was alive, stabilized, and left with enough medical supplies to last days. A simple note was attached in Caldreth's script. "Next time, we will not be so generous." Back on New Haven, Daniel sat in the medical center while a doctor treated his wounds. The plasma burns were serious, but nothing he had not survived before. Around him, the colonists were cleaning up the damage and tending to their own injured. Mayor Linda Hayes entered the medical center. She was a small woman barely 5 feet tall with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen too much violence today. "Mr. Brooks, I need to ask you something. Call me Daniel." "Daniel, then? What you did today was incredible. Terrifying, but incredible. Those soldiers you saved, the ones who came in the ships, they told me you were special forces. Said you had more combat decorations than any 3 normal soldiers combined. Why did you never tell us?" Daniel stared at his bandaged hands. "Because I wanted to forget. When I left Earth, I thought I could leave that life behind. Just be a farmer, a neighbor, a normal person." "But you are not normal," Linda said gently. and I think you knew that you could never truly leave it behind. Some part of you was always watching, always ready, always protecting us even when we did not know we needed protection. Maybe, Daniel admitted, or maybe I am just broken in a way that cannot be fixed. The Marines gave me purpose, structure. Without it, I felt lost. Coming here was supposed to help me find a new purpose. Linda pulled up a chair and sat beside him. You did find a purpose. You just did not recognize it until today. You are a protector, Daniel. That is not broken. That is noble. Before Daniel could respond, Admiral Carter entered with 3 other officers. She looked around the medical center, taking in the wounded colonists and the damage to the settlement. Mr. Brooks, she said formally, I am here to inform you that Earth Command has been monitoring the situation. We have decided to establish a permanent military presence in this sector. We are also upgrading New Haven's status from agricultural colony to strategic outpost. Daniel stood despite his injuries. With respect, Admiral, these people came here to farm, not to live on a military base. I understand your concern. Lisa's expression softened slightly. But the truth is, the Kaldrith will not forget what happened here. They will tell other empires. Word will spread that humans can fight. Some species will respect that and leave us alone. Others will see it as a challenge. We need to be ready. She is right, Linda interjected. Today proved that we cannot rely on being ignored. If we want to survive out here, we need to be able to defend ourselves. Lisa nodded. We are not going to turn New Haven into a fortress, but we will station a small garrison here, train the colonists in basic defense. Make sure that if something like this happens again, you are not alone. What about the Kaldrith? Daniel asked. Will they come back? Our intelligence suggests they are reassessing their threat evaluation of humanity. The commander who attacked you filed a detailed report. High Command is taking it seriously. We expect the Kaldrith will attempt to open diplomatic channels rather than risk another confrontation. One of the other officers, a young man with lieutenant insignia, spoke up. Sir, if I may ask, your combat record shows you retired 3 years ago. How did you maintain that level of skill? Daniel smiled grimly. I never stopped training. Every morning before the sun came up, I would run combat drills, practice shooting. Keep my reflexes sharp, I told myself. It was just habit, that I was being paranoid. Turns out, paranoia has its uses. Lisa studied him carefully. Earth Command wants to reactivate your commission. We need people with your experience to help train the Colonial Defense Forces. You would have your choice of assignments. No. The word came out harder than Daniel intended. I appreciate the offer, Admiral, but I spent 15 years in uniform. I earned my retirement. I will help train the locals if you need me to, but I am done with the military. I understand, Lisa said, though her eyes showed disappointment. But the offer stands. If you change your mind, contact me directly. After the military officers left, Daniel walked outside. The twin suns were setting, casting orange and purple light across the damaged settlement. Colonists were already rebuilding. Humans were good at that, he reflected. No matter how badly they were hurt, they got back up and kept going. A little girl approached him. She could not have been more than 7 years old. Mr. Daniel, thank you for saving my mom. Daniel knelt down to her level, ignoring the pain from his wounds. What is your name? Katie. Katie, listen to me carefully. What happened today was scary. But you are safe now, and you are going to stay safe. Can you be brave for me? Katie nodded seriously. I want to be brave like you. Then, remember this. Being brave does not mean you are not scared. It means you do what needs to be done, even when you are terrified. Can you do that? Yes, sir. As Katie ran back to her mother, Daniel felt something he had not experienced in years. Peace. Not the empty peace of hiding from his past, but the genuine peace of knowing he had made a difference. He had protected people who needed protecting. He had shown the galaxy that humanity would not be easy prey. 3 months passed. The Kaldrith Empire formally requested diplomatic talks with Earth. They proposed a non-aggression treaty with clear boundaries for both species. The galactic community, which had largely ignored humanity before, suddenly became very interested in establishing relations. Zaraketh herself requested permission to visit New Haven. Admiral Carter was suspicious, but Daniel convinced her to allow it. He met the Kaldrith commander at the landing pad. Now fully healed and back to his normal routine of farming and occasional combat training sessions with the new garrison, Zaraketh stepped off her shuttle alone, as agreed. She wore simple clothes instead of armor. Her injury had healed, but Daniel noticed she moved with more caution than before. Commander Zaraketh. Daniel greeted her formally. Welcome to New Haven. I am no longer a commander, she replied. I resigned my position after our encounter. I now serve as a diplomatic liaison. My first assignment is here. They walked through the rebuilt settlement. Colonists stared at the alien warrior but did not flee. Some even nodded politely. Daniel had spent weeks teaching them that not all aliens were enemies, that the galaxy was complicated. Why did you really come here? Daniel asked when they were away from listening ears. Zarek stopped and looked at him directly. Because I needed to understand. Your species confuses me. You have the capacity for such violence, yet you show mercy. You could have killed all of my warriors, but you let us retreat. You even saved one of them. Why? Daniel thought carefully before answering. Because violence is a tool, not a way of life. I am good at it, very good. But that does not mean I enjoy it or want to use it unless necessary. We fight to protect, not to conquer. There is a difference. Your empire does not think that way, Zaraketh observed. I have been studying human history. Your wars make Kaldrith conflicts look like minor skirmishes. You have killed billions of your own kind over the centuries. That is true, Daniel admitted, and it is our greatest shame. But it is also why we are so good at warfare. We learn through horrible experience. We know what weapons can do. We know the cost of violence. That knowledge makes us dangerous, but it also makes us careful. We do not start fights, but we sure as hell finish them. Zaraketh was quiet for a long moment. The Empire leadership is divided. Some want to avoid humanity entirely. Others see you as a threat that must be eliminated before you grow stronger. A few, like me, think we should learn from you. Learn what? How to be strong without being cruel. How to fight without losing honor. How to win without destroying everything in your path. She paused. I watched the recordings of our battle at least 100 times. You had opportunities to kill me. Clean shots when I was vulnerable, but you held back. You gave me chances to retreat. That is not weakness. That is control. That is what makes you truly dangerous. Daniel led her to a hill overlooking the valley where the battle had taken place. The scars were still visible, but new growth was already covering them. Nature heals. Given time and care, even the worst damage can be repaired. I think the same is true for relationships between species. What happened here does not have to define humanity and the Kaldrith forever. You believe we can coexist peacefully? I believe we can try, but it requires both sides to respect boundaries. The Kaldrith need to understand that humans will fight if threatened. We are not passive. We are not weak. Push us, and we push back harder than you can imagine." Zarak smiled, a gesture that looked strange on her alien features. "Your Admiral Carter said something similar. She also said that if the Kaldroth continue to test human resolve, Earth will show the galaxy what a fully mobilized human military looks like. She implied it would be terrifying." "She was not exaggerating," Daniel said quietly. "What you saw from me was one retired soldier using basic equipment. Earth has millions of active-duty military personnel. We have weapons technology we have not shared with the galactic community. We have strategies developed through millennia of constant warfare. If we wanted to, we could probably conquer half the known galaxy within a decade. So why do you not? Because we do not want to." Daniel turned to face her. "We spent thousands of years fighting each other. We finally achieved something resembling peace on Earth. We do not want to go back to being a warrior culture. We want to explore, to learn, to grow. But we will never be victims again. Not to our own kind, and certainly not to aliens who think we are easy targets." Zarak extended her hand in the human gesture of respect she had learned. "Then perhaps there is hope for both our species. The Kaldroth respect strength. You have shown us that humans possess it in abundance. That earns you a place at the table of galactic powers." Daniel shook her hand carefully, mindful of the strength difference. "Just remember this conversation when your empire debates its next move. Remember that the farmer who beat you is not special among humans. He is common. Earth has millions like me. Some are better. Some are worse. But all of us share one trait. What trait? We protect our own, always, no matter the cost. Attack one human colony, and you attack all of humanity. We learned that lesson fighting each other. Now the galaxy gets to learn it too." As Zarak returned to her shuttle, Daniel watched the twin suns set once more. Katie ran up beside him, now wearing a small training uniform from the garrison. "Mr. Daniel, the sergeant says I am doing really good at the self-defense classes." Daniel smiled and ruffled her hair. "That is excellent, Katie. Keep practicing. Hopefully you will never need those skills. But if you do, you will be ready." Just like you were ready, just like I was ready. The stars came out bright and infinite. Somewhere up there, the galaxy was learning a new truth. Humanity had arrived, and they were not going anywhere. The age of underestimating humans was over.